Like all artists, Kendrick Lamar, or K.dot, has had several transitions in terms of lifestyle and environment. He went from this innocent, good kid in a dangerous or mad city to a teenager, affiliated with one of the most dangerous Piru gangs in Compton, California. And finally, to the superstar we see him as today, winning 17 Grammy Awards over the course of his career. With his most recent being Rap Album of the Year winner, Mr. Morals and High Steppers.
First and foremost, I want to thank my family for giving me the courage, and the vulnerability to share these stories and share my truth with this album.
Beating out legends like Pusha T's It's Almost Dry and Future's I Never Liked You album. Today, we're addressing all these areas of Kendrick Lamar, from childhood all the way up to his adult years. And also, we're answering a huge question that's been lingering with a lot of Kendrick Lamar fans. Did K.dot gangbang? Particularly, was he from the West Side Pirus? And did he catch a body in his younger days? And let me just give you a spoiler. K.dot was definitely... If y'all wanna know if K.dot was a gang member or not, y'all gotta stick around for this wild story. Matter of fact, wild, it's an understatement, because it's alleged he was bodying way more than tracks. Big Sean, J Electronica, murdered them niggas. He also hints at catching a real body in the streets, with one particular bar from his song called Mad City, where he says, "If I told you I killed a nigga at 16, would you believe me?" Which we're definitely going to address later in the video. With that being said, K.dot has always been known to have an entourage filled with a lot of reputable blood members, which can be seen in several of his music videos and even interviews, including one where he lets nosy into his personal experiences growing up in Compton, where multiple Piru members can be seen in the background, and were even interviewed throughout the video.
Valley all about?
Man, shit. Saturday get dangerous, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
How close is this to where you grew up?
This my home. On the set, nigga done hustle right here, all type of shit.
And honestly, when it comes to California, or at least Los Angeles County, most would think it's a need for an artist to be affiliated with the gang in order to feel protected. Shit, look at Chris Brown and Soulja Boy.
They say Soulja ain't from the hood. They say Soulja ain't from the hood. Get off me though. Oh yeah, that's off me though. What's happening?
The boys came out here and turned into the top goons of the city. Okay, I'm lying about that part, but it will still be natural for the masses of hip-hop fans, especially from out of state, to think most local artists are in gangs or affiliated with gangs. But to fully understand if these rumors are true or false, it's essential that we go back to K.dot's early days in Compton, California. Chapter 1. Who's Kendrick Lamar? Kendrick Lamar's upbringing can explain a lot when it comes to his ties to the West Side Pirus and Compton in general. The born and bred Compton boy's family ended up in the city by accident. In 1984, 3 years before Lamar was born, Kenny Duckworth, the rapper's father-to-be, was allegedly caught up in a notorious street gang called the Gangster Disciples, which is a Chicago-based street gang known for having deadly ways and having a lot of enemies. Yeah, this was during the Snipers on the Roof era in Chicago. Yeah, on the roof, bro. Man, if you think Chicago was grimy now, imagine maneuvering through all them tall-ass maze-like buildings. It was definitely a death sentence. So the need for a new environment was an absolute necessity. After his wife gave him the ultimatum, the pair got on a train from Chicago to California. Originally, they thought they were escaping a life of looking over their shoulders. They were coming to the Sunshine State. They were hoping for a life of good weather, a new community, and the glamour that the California life comes with. And trust, they got all that, just not exactly how they imagined. Because in the 1980s, Southern California was a complete war zone due to the influx of gang activity. So they definitely got the weather, but the communities were infested with violent groups. And the glamour, it was definitely there too. But in the cities they ended up in, the only things being glamorized at the time were gangs. In a Rolling Stones interview, K.dot says, "My auntie Tina was in Compton. She got them a hotel until they can get on their feet. My mom got a job at McDonald's. And after spending 3 years sleeping in their car, motels, our local park, the pair, they managed to save enough money for their first apartment and give birth to Kendrick. In an environment where they raised him on welfare while living on Section 8 housing. On top of that, Lamar figured out at a young age that his father was still working in the streets to provide for the trio. And a number of his mom's brothers were Compton Crips. With that being said, K.dot, he's been surrounded by gang warfare and violence in Compton basically from his birth to his adulthood. And whether he wanted to or not, he had to maneuver through it all in order to survive. In that same Rolling Stones interview, Kendrick says, "I remember riding with my pops down Bullis Road and looking out the window and seeing motherfuckers just running. I could see smoke. We stopped, and my pop goes into the auto zone and comes out rolling 4 tires. I know he didn't buy them, so I'm like, what's going on?" He didn't notice at the time, but Kendrick, he was right in the middle of the trenches of the...
It's a way for people to vent their frustration.
And yet, what we have seen seemed more a colorblind orgy of wrecking and taking. What has happened to people?
So help me God, I never seen parents teaching children to steal. If I had done that, my mom would beat the stuffings out of me if she had called me stealing. But these parents teaching their kids to steal, I can't understand it. Do they ever take their kids to church? Do they ever teach them to believe in Jesus? I don't believe this stuff. I just can't.
I ain't gonna lie. If I'm K.dot's dad, man, them tires. Where the jewelry stores at? Let's make this shit worth it. Look, I'm playing, you guys. Look, looting is definitely bad. Don't do it unless you're gonna get away with it. Nah, seriously. The tension in Los Angeles was real. And with media giants covering pretty much every moment, you can see just how crazy it got in the city. And Kendrick and his family was witness to it all. In regards to the riots, he continues, then we get to the house. Him and my uncles is like, we finna get this, we finna get that, we finna get all this shit. I'm thinking they're robbing. There's some real mayhem going on in LA. Then, as time progresses, I'm watching the news, hearing about Rodney King and all this. I said to my mom, so the police beat up a black man and now everybody's mad? Okay, I get it now. He then credits the riots for giving him a better understanding of the police brutality that goes on in not only Los Angeles, but across America and beyond. But that was just the beginning of understanding the world that he was living in. Because Kendrick also witnessed his first murder at the age of 5. He says, it was outside my apartment building. A guy was out there serving his narcotics and somebody rolled up with a shotgun and blew his chest out. Admittedly, it did something to me right then and there. It let me know that this is not only something that I'm looking at, but it's also something that I maybe have to get used to. But that was only the first murder he witnessed. 3 years later, as he was walking home from Ronald E. McNair Elementary School in Compton, Kendrick would see his second murder. This time, it was at Towns Burger on Central and East Rosecrans, just 6 blocks from where he grew up. He's quoted saying, 8 years old, walking home from McNair Elementary School, dude was in a drive-thru ordering his food, and homie ran up. Boom, boom, smoked him. And while Tams, it's always been a go-to for a lot of Compton locals, it's also been a hotbed for violence. Yeah, it's also known for being a spot where Suge Knight plowed down and killed Terry Carter in 2015.
Some new and disturbing video that will impact the murder case against media mogul Suge Knight. The video obtained by TMZ shows the January 29th incident where Knight's truck apparently runs over the 2 men. The
truth, though, is that Tams, it wasn't the only hotbed for violence. From the 1980s all the way up to the mid-2000s, Compton has been known as one of the most violent areas in California. Matter of fact, in 1995, when Kendrick was 8, the same age he witnessed his second murder, the murder rate in Compton was 81.5 out of 100,000 people. By comparison, New York City, with a murder rate of 2.2 per 100,000, looks like a playground. Even Chicago, which is the current straw man for violent crimes in modern America, only had a murder rate of 8.52 in 2015. These days, it's not as bad in Compton as it once was, but it's still definitely an area you're not gonna play games in. Go get your Tams, that shit is definitely fire, but get your food and go. It's definitely some niggas around the corner that's on go. There's multiple factors on why Compton has always been known for its violence, but a big one is funds, or lack thereof. Matter of fact, today, the per capita income is still above 15K in this section of Los Angeles County, a fraction of the 58,000 US average. So for Kendrick Lamar, the violence at times was unrelenting. At the age of 15, he was beaten down in front of his mother at the Avalon swap meet, an incident he would later relay on Element, Damn. And there was also a time where his mom found a bloody hospital gown among Kendrick's clothes. Kendrick was initially cagey about the situation, but he eventually admitted that it was from being in the ER with one of his young homies who got smoked. Or there was a time where his mom, Paula, found him curled up and crying in the front yard, and he figured he was still sad about his grandmother's death. She's then quoted saying, "I didn't know somebody had shot at him." His cycle of violence hit its peak when one day the police knocked on their door, claiming he was behind a neighborhood incident. His parents promptly kicked him out, and after that, he went to stay with friends who were even more entrenched in the street life, with a lot of them already being Westside Piru members. Chapter 2. Who did he run with? Friends, family, and etc. At an early age, K.dot was heavily involved in making music, dropping his first mixtape, Young Niggas in Charge, on June 17th of 2003, which caught the ear of a lot of locals, including his first official label, Top Dog Entertainment. And even though he released another tape titled Training Day, which also garnered a lot of attention on his musical skills, the streets of Compton definitely still had a hard grip on the soul of the young MC. At this point, we know he was surrounded by gangs, but let's get a lot more in depth so we can answer if Kendrick Lamar was a gang member as we get more into his environment and the people he was surrounded by. To start, some of his closest friends were Westside Piru members, but some of them being Lil L, Big Hitter J3, and G-Weed, who are known members and fellow rappers as well. In fact, you can see them in a lot of his earlier videos from his Good Kid, Mad City album, and even in recent videos like the Humble video, King Kunta, and the Family Ties video. So they're definitely still very close to Kendrick. Yeah, run up on Kendrick thinking he's a lick. If he don't got it, his homies got the stick. And trust, they RIP shit for niggas trying to be slick. Bars, nigga. But man, K.dot, you might as well sign your boy, man. Come on, bro, let's get this money, man. Nah, seriously. Back in those days, Kendrick was said to be banging the Westside Pirus hard, with some even saying he caught a body. Matter of fact, in a Reddit post from somebody who claimed to be a West Coast local, he quotes, "Kendrick, he allegedly knocked somebody down in 2007. It didn't happen allegedly, it did. It's a rumor, but allegedly he was acting. Rap saved him at 17. And while all this is alleged, it's safe to say that Kendrick definitely made it out that life, which is the route he tries to lead his day ones to. K.dot, till this day, tries to steer his friends away from the street life, but some of those weren't so lucky. Just after midnight on June 13th of 2007 in Compton, California, officers from the LAPD Southwest Division responded to a domestic violence call on East 120th Street, just about 5 minutes from Lamar's house. There, they claimed they found his good friend, DT, allegedly holding a 10-inch knife. According to police, DT charged and officers opened fire, killing him instantly. Kendrick was quoted saying, "It never really quite added up. But here's the crazy thing. Normally, when we find out somebody got killed, the first thing we say is, who did it? Where we gotta go? It's a gang altercation. But this time, it was the police. The biggest gang in California. You'll never win against them. As a teenager, he says the majority of his interactions with the police weren't good at all. There were a few good ones who were actually protecting the community, but then you have the ones from the valley. They never met me in their life. But since I'm a kid in basketball shorts and a white tee, they want to slam me on the hood of the car. Lamar also says he had police pull guns on him on 2 occasions. The first was when he was 17, cruising around Compton with his friend Moose. He says a cop spotted their flashy green Camaro and pulled him over. And when Moose couldn't find his license fast enough, the cop pulled a gun. He literally put the gun to my boy's head, Lamar recalls. I remember driving off in silence, feeling violated, and him being so angry, a tear dropped from his eye. The story of the second time is murkier. Lamar won't say what he and his friends were up to, only that the cop drew his gun and they ran. We was in the wrong, he admits, but we were just kids. It's not worth pulling your gun over, especially when we were running away. The crazy part, and what should be known by a lot at this point, is that those 2 experiences weren't just limited to him. Shit, a cop put a gun on me when I was only 11 years old. Granted, my granny's house was being raided, and I ain't gonna lie, my uncles definitely was some thugs. But I'm grown now, and I could tell a kid from an adult, or even a gangbanging ass kid, to a regular one. Anyways, similar to my uncles, Kendricks were Compton Crips, been heavily involved in the Compton streets as well. One of his uncles did a 15-year stretch for robbery, and another one is now locked up for the same. His uncle Tony, meanwhile, was shot in the head at a burger stand when Kendrick was a boy. It's safe to say he was surrounded by gangs and violence most of his life, and he still has a close relationship with a lot of the people he ran with as a kid. But let's move on so we can find out what these ties really mean when it comes to Kendrick Lamar and the Westside Pirus. Chapter 3, K.dot's ties to the Westside Pirus. Kendrick Lamar grew up in the Westside Pirus territory in Compton, California. His closest friends were Westside Pirus, and it was common to see him rolling with them throughout the city, which he often hints at in his music. Matter of fact, in The Art of Peer Pressure, he says, "We saw a nigga in colors we didn't like, and we started interrogating." But let's make this clear. Around 99% of locals are color banging, purely off affiliation. And once you start doing that, the other side sees you as the same enemy. So whether K.dot was an official member or not, he was heavily attached to the gang. But Kendrick, he's also the product of a specific time and place. A city and era where violence was a commonplace, and a degree of poverty was nearly unimaginable for a lot of people who didn't live in it. In the same interview mentioned earlier, K.dot says, "Everyone knows Kendrick Lamar for who I am now. They feel like I have a whole bunch of insight. But in order to gain that insight, I had to come from this place of loneliness, darkness, and evil. Nobody knows that." But some locals, they say they know exactly where Kendrick was coming from. In a Reddit post, a user says, "Cuzzo been talking about having bodies. I think that's one of the larger contributors to his self-loathing and feeling as though he's unworthy of stardom, success, and even love. It's a reoccurring theme in literally every project. Y'all gotta stop down little man with some WS, which is an abbreviated term for the Westside Pirus." Yeah, but it's alleged that Kendrick wasn't just color banging back in those days. He was very active in the streets of Compton. Even after the fame, he continues to hint at his gang affiliation. Like when he threw up a Piru gang sign in an old video with Lil Wayne and J-Rock, or put funk at the end of multiple lines in Humble, which is standard P-Funk riders lingo. He constantly calls his homies, specifically Lil L Blood, out loud during concerts. And lastly, he pressed AD because he thought he was a Crip from neighborhood back in the day, which AD explains in the No Jumper podcast interview.
Hey, you wanna know a crazy thing about Kendrick, bro? My first encounter with him, he thought I was somebody else, bro. He low-key tried to press me.
Who?
Kendrick Lamar.
Who he thought you was?
Gorilla
He
Black?
from a different hood. I guess some niggas jumped him back in the day. And I came to the studio and he was mad. He was like, hey, you from Almond Block? And I was like, nah, but he was hot.
Bruh, K.dot definitely putting on for the short niggas like me. Pressing AD. Bruh, we not playing with you big ass niggas. Stop testing us. Our mamas ain't raised no bitch. But to be frank, also found this quote on Reddit from someone claiming to be very close to Kendrick. He says, Kendrick never gangbanged. He was cool with everybody, but he didn't bang. The story AD tells isn't even him banging on him. He may have tried to press him for mistaken identity, but that wasn't him banging on him. I knew plenty of civilians that would want some get back if they got jumped back in the day. Kendrick is tapped in because he's cool where he grew up and his family ties. Which is honestly true. If you jump me, trust, me and my family ain't forgetting. We need that get back ASAP. In all, Kendrick Lamar is definitely a blood on the low, or he's just really, really deep inside this Pirus shit by affiliation. But let's go in depth so we can gather a better stance on K.dot's situation. Chapter 4, what K.dot's family ties really mean. Kendrick Lamar's ties to the Westside Pirus run deep when it comes to the city of Compton, and he lets it be known all throughout his albums and a lot of his music videos. This is one of the main reasons why some fans think K.dot was an actual member of the gang when he was at least a teenager. And based off of my research and all the information I found, it points to him being a gang member, but Kendrick's refuge from the streets was music. And it seems the Westside Pirus looked out for him and kept him out the streets when they saw how active he was. In my opinion, I would say he was definitely a member of the Westside Pirus. Bro, look at this fucking picture. I don't care what nobody said. If you was raised in Los Angeles County, you knew better to wear hats like that, unless you was really outside gangbanging. That nigga didn't even look like a damn baseball fan. But let's look at the big picture. K.dot is a superstar who was signed to a superstar label with TDE, producing a lot of timeless artists. Also, he's a top 5 rapper, arguably one of the best to ever do it. On top of all that, the subject matter of his music is political, controversial, and aimed at addressing issues a lot of other rappers are honestly scared to talk about. So frankly, him announcing he was a gang member will be contradicting to his stance on a lot of the material he's made, and it will undermine the overall approach he takes with making his music. I mean, imagine the stance media outlets like Fox would have on Lamar after releasing controversial songs like All Right. They would definitely have a field day on him, and the attacks would have been a lot worse when it comes to his character. This is pretty much the reason why Kendrick Lamar would never come out publicly and say he was a Westside Pirus member. On top of that, he's a role model for many kids in America, an activist who supported many causes, and literally a business. Him being a gang member would definitely negatively affect his overall brand. But that's just my opinion. A logo from Reddit is quoted saying, he grew up there, and all his homies are from there basically. He's just one of those niggas who don't bang, but are deeply connected through friends and family. Chapter 5, the good he's done for his community. It's a known fact that Kendrick Lamar is heavily affiliated with the Westside Pirus, all the way to the point where he's often seen wearing the gang's colors and have close relationships with a lot of the gang's prominent figures. But this storyline is much deeper than just gangs. Throughout his career, Lamar's won 17 Grammy Awards, including 3 for Best Rap Album and 6 for Best Rap Performance, which is the most won by an artist. On top of that, he's won multiple other awards. And he's also known for doing a lot for his community and beyond. Lamar's regularly performed at TDE's annual holiday toy drive at the Nickerson Gardens, and he organizes his own toy drive in Compton. Also, in November of 2011, Lamar headlined a charity concert benefiting Los Angeles Downtown's Women's Center, which addresses the needs of women battling homelessness and poverty on Skid Row. In December of 2013, Lamar donated $50,000 to Centennial High School's music department. He embarked on a 5-stop tour in 2014, with all of the proceeds benefiting the Habitat for Humanity in his hometown of Compton. He also donated to the American Red Cross to support victims of Hurricane Sandy. He told MTV News in November, "I think we just really need to take matters in our own hands, uplift our community, put money back into our community, and show these kids that there's something different."